Hey everybody, Stuff I Heard podcast. Check out my new shirt. Ooh. If only you could get one. Well, you can. I got them available. Let me know. Be on the podcast. We'll look something up. Michah, if you're out there, I know you're watching Big Daddy 1992. Drop me a line. Let me know your address and size. I'll hook you up, dude. Alright, you ready? Here we go. Hey everybody, and thank you for listening to the Stuff I Heard podcast. Today happens to be episode 198. 198 times I've told you the date and all that crap. Today is March 11th of 2020. March 11th is kind of a big deal. I say that because I graduated boot camp on March 10th, 25 years ago. Wow, that's a long time ago. I feel like an old man when I say that. 25 years ago. I remember when I turned 25, I was thinking, man, I'm 25. What a big deal this is. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it was a big deal. It's all a big deal. It's all a big deal. So, we've been dealing with some interesting weather. It's been cold. It's been rainy. It's been rainy a lot. And today's actually very beautiful. I was able to get outside today, do a little bit of going around town. Ate lunch today at King Jefe Taco downtown. They have a new T-shirt, which I posted on Instagram. It's a bright green with one of the Mexican wrestler, the Nacho Libre wrestler shirts. I like that a lot. I'm trying to work out a deal with Kyle where we can do little swapsies, little tradesies. Hey man, give me a shirt. Give me a shirt. You know what I'm saying? Publish each other's stuff and promote each other's stuff, all that fun stuff. I went there today for lunch so I could hang out with Danny and talk about some things that he was doing. You guys know Danny as being on the YouTube channel, stuff I kind of care about. He's done a series lately, 3 videos on building a lamp. The great part was, the first video he's talking about what I'm going to do to build this lamp. The second video is him building the lamp and going, oh no, I made a mistake. And I love the fact that he left that in. It's like, a lot of people look for things for inspiration or for guidance or for instruction, and the avenue of YouTube is in a lot of ways a lot like Instagram. We're going to show you our best life. We're not going to show you the flaws. We're not going to talk about the things that make us imperfect. And the fact that he left it in made it, to me, more precious. There's a book I read years ago called They Whisper, and it was recommended by some girl that my dad was dating or whatever. He married a lot. So anyway, she mentioned this book, and she's like, listen, this book was really, influential over me, and blah, blah, blah. And so I looked for the book, I bought the book, I read the book. The book is a lot about how we need to learn to love each other because of our flaws, not because of the things that make us assimilate towards one another. And it talks about how, you get a group of people together, after a while they're all pretty similar, but the things that you find that you love most about them is their differences, their subtle flaws. Whether it's a physical trait or a psychological trait or whatever, it's the thing that draws you to them. So, in a way, I'm sort of drawn to people who are flawed in a way. And I don't know if that's nurture versus nature of my life, of the people that I've been in contact with my entire life, or the people that helped mold me. But I would be silly not to say that it's because I admire the people who, even through their differences, figure out life in their own special way. And in a way, I kind of want to observe them and talk about them and bring them into the fold of my life so that they better inform me about what to do whenever I'm faced with adversity. Because let's face it, we're all faced with adversity in our lives, and we're all faced with things that maybe we don't know how to attack. And if we just utilize the resources of the people around us, someone may have a solution that helps you. Just yesterday, I worked with a guy who had a problem. He was looking for a solution. He reached out, and through social media, a lot of people came to his aid and said, "Hey, man, I got something that can help you. I got the idea. I got a guy that can help you. I got a guy that can hook you up. I got a guy that knows how to do this. I got a guy that knows how to do that." He's able to solve his problem with minimal effort, I would say, on his part, other than reaching out to his community and saying, "Hey, I need help." And that's something that we forget, And Danny, in this video, he's building this lamp. He makes a huge error, and he's like, he made a conscious choice to go, let me just make this video and keep this in here, because this is important to some people. This is kind of a big deal. They'll enjoy this. And then I get to show them, hey, I'm human too. I make mistakes, and here's my mistake. And I'm going to move on from this, and you guys are going to see the next video where I figure it out. But this is the video where I realized I made a big mistake, and here you go. It is what it is. And he says he gets tons of people writing him all the time going, God, you're an idiot. I can't believe you did that. You made such a mistake. And he's like, yeah, I did. I did that, because I'm human and because I wanted to show you guys that it's okay. That's the thing, though. I think that a lot of kids nowadays don't allow themselves to make mistakes. They don't allow themselves the error ratio. They don't give in to the fact of, hey, life is not always perfect. And sometimes things go, awry. And you're just like, well, I guess I got to roll the punches here and figure it out. And you do. And hopefully you surround yourself around a community of people who also believe the same thing, and don't just throw their hands up and give up anytime things get rough. So anyway, go check out Stuff I Kind of Care About on YouTube, and give Danny a shout out, tell him I sent you. I did get in an order of t-shirts, by the way. I got 100 t-shirts. If you guys are looking at me on YouTube right now, you're looking at the shirt. They're black with white writing. I put them on the front. There's a whole thing that went involved in this. A big shout out to someone in particular at a company called Terminus Tees. Where did I write it down? I wrote down notes, like legit notes again. Kaeley George at Terminus Tees. Thank you for your help. You made my purchasing of this a lot easier than it at first was. I didn't know what I was doing. I kind of poked around at ideas. I sent some ideas out. She messaged me back, and she's like, hey, the resolution isn't as good as it should be. Would you like to do this instead? And she sent me back ideas, and then I went back and forth, kind of playing around with the idea of a white shirt versus a black shirt, and so on and so forth. A bunch of boring crap you guys don't care about. But the main point was I got a lot of back and forth feedback from her, and ultimately she helped me figure out the design and worked out a deal and made it all happen. So thank you so much to Kaeley George. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Kaeley, Kaeley George, at Terminus Tees. So thank you. Another big shout out to the Polstons, Eric and Connie Polston down in Florida. My dad just happens to be down there right now with his wife Trish, and they are visiting. Eric Polston works for Disney and has worked for Disney for 30 plus years as a master carpenter. And Dad's retired, and him and Trish went down there, and they're going to Disney today with Eric. And I'm super jealous, very, very jealous. I wanted to hook up some kind of vacation thing with them so that we could maybe go to Disney and get some inside information from him. But the more I talked about it, the more I realized that I kind of wanted more one-on-one time. And if Dad's there, then it's sort of a weird social dynamic of trying to hang out with them, with Dad, and I don't know, I felt like the timing was wrong. Plus, my wife started a new job, so her vacation time is not as flexible as mine is right now. I have a bit more than she does. So we sort of put the brakes on going, but he's there now. Of course, if you follow him, he's on YouTube as RPeak. And the Polstons, Eric and Connie both, have their own Instagram page. Eric has his own YouTube page. I don't know if he posts much there. I am subscribed to him, but mostly what he does is he finds old hubcaps on the side of the road, and he fixes them up and makes them into like these neat lawn ornament things, like they look like flowers. They're real pretty. But anyway, yeah. So check them out on the various social medias, whether it's YouTube or Instagram or whatever, and just tell them, hey, enjoy their journey together. Because again, this is about a community, right? Speaking of community, my buddy Greg down in Albany, Georgia, thinks he may have been exposed to the coronavirus. I don't know if he's going to talk. I'm sure he'll talk about this on his podcast. He's the one that has the 5 and 40 podcast. From what he says, they found a patient that was in there that tested positive for the coronavirus. And what this is one of those things where once you're exposed, you could potentially have it up to 14 days and not show any symptoms of it. So you then become a carrier and a transmitter. So if you have it, anybody you come into contact with could also have it. So they quarantine you for 14 days. And he's on a quarantine. And as being a nurse practitioner, he normally sees a lot of patients every day. Also, his side little hustle is being the lead singer of a 90s rock band. It sort of limits his ability to sing in front of people if you have the virus, because then you're just going to give it to everyone else. I always picture like the movie 12 Monkeys. Whenever the guy has it and he's on the plane and he just happens to have this vial and he lets one person sniff this vial, then that person has it, and then they cough on the plane and everyone on the plane has it, and then so on and so forth. Like a pandemic, everybody gets it. And I think the truly scary thing about this coronavirus is the fact that you can have it for up to 2 weeks and not know you have it, and then you're just giving it to everybody you come into contact with. So anyway, if you know Greg, if you don't know Greg, whatever, just, kind of say a little prayer, hope everybody's fine. Anybody that's out there dealing with this kind of crap, I hope everybody's okay. The news is coming out more and more about it, saying that the elderly are more susceptible than the young. The young seem to be weathering the illness pretty well. If you have a good immune system, you seem to be weathering it pretty well. It's just a mild form of the cold if you're younger. But if you're over 65 and you have a low immune system or any kind of cardiovascular disease that it really affects you harshly, I think most of the people who've died so far have been the elderly with some type of lung disease or a low immune system kind of situation. So anyway, I want to talk about some stuff that I've watched on YouTube, or not YouTube, on Netflix. I watched a couple of things. I watched this movie through the recommendation of this guy at work, Chad Powell. He was talking about it. He mentioned this show called Freaks. It's a movie, and it's one of those superhero type movies where it follows this little girl. She's like 7, and she doesn't know she has powers, but she starts to learn that she's developing powers. Her dad in the movie is played by Emil Hirsch. He's in one of my favorite movies ever, Into the Wild. Very good actor. This is a weird movie in the fact that you kind of know what's going on, but you don't really know what's going on, and you're not really sure what the storyline is because they're revealing it to you basically from the eyes of this little girl. And it's done really well. There's an older man in this, Bruce Dern. You see him weirdly sitting inside of an ice cream truck for a long period of time, and he looks super creepy. And for most of the show, you're not sure if he's on the good guy's side or he's a bad guy. You're not really sure. Not really sure. But the way this is played out, I think that if this was a movie at the theater, it probably didn't do well. But if this was a Netflix movie, it probably did well enough to make more of them. The way they ended it, they could definitely make more of them, and I hope they do. I would love to see this be a series because the characters are interesting and the story is interesting. Thank you to Chad for mentioning that. I totally appreciate it. We were also talking about, he's one of the guys that got me into listening to a podcast called Timesuck. And I listened to 2 recently. I listened to one on the way down to Georgia to visit my wife's family. I made my wife suffer through it. It was a very wordy, very complicated one about Leonardo da Vinci, episode 161.155. Again, I'm not sure why there's 2 different numbers for those. I'm sure it has something to do with his Patreon account and the bonus episodes and whatnot, and they all got confused at some point, and he lost track of the numbers, or whatever. I don't know. But this Leonardo da Vinci one is very wordy. He does a lot of Italian names in it. He does a lot of trying to mention the works of art, and this is all during the Renaissance period. I honestly, as a listener, I didn't know some of the dates. I didn't know that he was alive during the time that Christopher Columbus came to America, but apparently he was. He came out with works of arts around the 1490s. Big shock! I had no idea. He also talks a lot about. He goes into depth talking about some horrible practices by masters of the Renaissance period versus their students. And then he goes really far into it, and then he goes, I'm just kidding about that part. Totally kidding. Made all of it up. Just want to see if you guys are paying attention. Which is kind of funny, and it's kind of a tagline of things that he does on this show. But it did make it to where as I'm listening to it, I'm building up this narrative in my head of wanting to repeat that when I come on here, and then I go, oh, that's fake. Okay. I just memorized all that crap for nothing. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it there, Dan Cummings. So anyway, the Leonardo da Vinci one was very fascinating. I did learn a lot about him and about his art and about how scattered he was with so many different projects, whether it had to do with creating, inventing, helping people problem solve situations, painting, doing sculptures, all kinds of stuff. And my wife made a comment. She goes, do you think he was ADD because he never really, he would halfway do this project and halfway do that project and have to keep going back and do this project and that project? And I was like, I don't know. I kind of get the impression that maybe he was just that smart that he realized that if he just completed a job right away, that he wouldn't get as much money as if he did part of the job. And then it was like, I just ran out of time. I got to come back later. And then when he comes back, he's like, yeah, it's going to cost more money to finish it. I mean, it's kind of a smart way to do it. And, it's hard to perceive how much wealth that he would have had back then. But at a certain point, Dan talks about in his will, he left all of his wineries to this person or that person. And I was like, wineries? That's what the plural, wineries. Holy crap. So anyway, it's very interesting to find out the history about Leonardo da Vinci. This morning, well, not this morning, but over the course of a couple of days, I listened to episode 163.157. It's about Mormonism and the good, the bad, and the FLDS. The FLDS is the freakish side portion of Mormonism who still believes in polygamy and is in trouble with the law for underage sodomy and really creepy activities still today. He does a great discussion about this. He does a lot of background history. He does a lot of normalizing as much as he could about this crazy religion that, he puts in perspective when it comes to its beginnings in relation to Christianity or whatever. I mean, he's like, hey, listen, this is what it is. This is the definition between a cult and a religion. And sometimes it's a little cultish, and sometimes it's religion, and the same could be said about these other religions. And he's very fair in his conversation, but also you got to remember he's a comedian, so he makes jokes along the way. But he never gets away from the facts. He keeps coming back to the facts. He keeps telling you about the history of things and what happened. And it's amazing. It's really amazing. But it's 3 hours. It's a commitment. I'll be honest. I listened to the first hour or so, and I wanted to quit. I was just like, I can't listen anymore. There's so much information in this. And I feel like I'm doing a disservice even talking about it on this podcast. But again, it's called Timesuck, Dan Cummings. Look at Mormonism. It's fascinating. It's really fascinating. I can't recommend it enough. And since I got to talk to Chad this past week, he mentioned a couple more to check out. One on Greek mythology. He's like, that one is the one I started with, and that one was amazing. He's like, I think that one's my favorite one so far. I'm like, okay, so I got one to check out in the future coming up. I watched a couple of comedy specials on Netflix. You guys know I'm a comedy fan. I talk about it all the time. Pete Davidson has his new comedy special on there called Alive from New York because he's on Saturday Night Live. I think you want to play off the name a little bit. Famously, he dated and was engaged to Ariana Grande, I think, at one point, and then they broke up, and she made some claims or whatever about him, and so all this stuff got out public about him, which he says isn't true. And a lot of his show is just not funny. I know this is supposed to be a comedy show, and he talks about his personal story about his life, about his dad being a firefighter during 9/11, and the fact that his dad wasn't just a hero, he was also kind of a dirtbag. He was like, my dad was, turns out he was a cokehead, and he was he was into some shady stuff on the side. And also he died during 9/11, which is awful. But it's weird. I don't know who finds Pete Davidson funny. I mean, I didn't hear a joke in it where I went, that was good. I didn't. The only thing I liked about it was the fact that he claimed that Ariana Grande said that he had a giant penis. And he's like, I don't. He goes, and here's the genius of her thing is from now on, anybody who sees it is going to be like disappointed. They're like, oh, she said that, he's like, it's kind of an ultimate dig in me because then from now on, people are going to be disappointed. I thought that was funny. But the rest of it, nah. Didn't enjoy it. Didn't enjoy it. I watched it so that I could see if anything happened that was worthwhile. Nope, not all of it. Not any of it. Then I watched Mark Maron's comedy special. It just came out today. I watched it because I'm a big fan of Mark Maron as a person. I like him as an actor. He's great on the show Glow. I know that he's very nervous and he's very talkative and that he likes to reflect a lot on his life. He talks about being Jewish a lot and he's, very, self-reflective. And his new comedy special is called End Times Fun. Okay. I didn't laugh watching it. Mark is Mark, and he says some stuff in there that's kind of cute. There's a thing in there about turmeric, which is kind of cute, but again, it's not my style. And listen, everybody has their style of comedy. I'm not telling you you're going to like it, you're not going to like it. Everybody has their own taste, but I'm just telling you, I watched it and it didn't move the needle. Not at all. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's maybe 1. Pizza 0. I mean, that's just my opinion. And take it for what it is. I couldn't do what they do. I couldn't get on stage and tell jokes. I mean, maybe I could, but there's no expectations of me. These guys are celebrities before they get on stage. There's an expectation level, right? So anyway. So, Netflix. Last night, I did a deep dive and watched a show. I don't know when it came out. It's called Inside Bill's Brain, Decoding Bill Gates. It's only 3 episodes. It's pretty fascinating. Bill Gates is probably one of the smartest people of our time. He's the reason that computers are where they are today, between him and Steve Jobs and all the people of their clans. They're the reason that computers are where they are today. And the way Bill thinks is incredible. I think that this movie was part documentary and part public relations. I got the picture that he's into some endeavors that could make the world a better place, but also come under some scrutiny from different ways. They set the first 2 episodes up so that you're really behind him and you're like, this guy's altruistic and he's wanting to do the right thing. But they also do the thing where they go, yeah, he was kind of ruthless in the past and he was really a jerk. But here's where he is now and he's trying to do the right thing. As he gets later in life, his mom's died. They talk about his mom a lot, trying to humanize him, right? They interview his wife a lot, again, trying to humanize him. And he's not an unlikable guy right now. But I'm sure that when he was coming up, he butted heads with a lot of people and really pushed them as hard as he could push them, which is expected if you're in that field, right? But he has a big project coming up with nuclear energy where he's rethinking nuclear in a way that hasn't been thought of before and hasn't been implemented before, which comes on the heels of some pretty bad PR for nuclear. And I got to be honest, watching this, he may be onto something. I mean, I'm a big fan of Elon Musk and solar and that kind of stuff. But Bill may be onto something. It's worth looking at. It's worth talking about. If this whole documentary behind-the-scenes thing about Bill is for this reason, then they did a good job. Because if I was an influencer or if I was in any way involved with him, I'd be like, yeah, let's talk. Tell me more. I want to be part of this. I want to help. It's pretty well done. There's an episode, well, they kind of sprinkle it in there about his friendships over the years. One of the friendships, of course, was with another philanthropist, Warren Buffett. Just out of curiosity, I looked up their net worth. As of January, Warren Buffett is worth $89.5 billion. He's 89 years old, coincidentally. Bill Gates is worth $112.8 billion, and he is 64. So, what do you do if you have that much money? Like my wife and I had this discussion last night. If you had basically unlimited funds, and you could go anywhere, do anything, what do you do? Like, at what point do you go crazy? I think they've done pretty well with it. I mean, both of them have. And I told her, I said, I would think that at some point you feel responsibility to help others. I mean, I would if I were in their situation. A lot of people are asking you your opinion. I mean, here's guys who built something out of nothing. Hey, what do you think about this? Is there any way you can help us? So, anyway, it's worth a watch. It's probably the better thing that I've seen this week. I did watch some more of the Star Wars Clone Wars. It's getting better. I've started to watch the series on Amazon Prime called Hunters with Al Pacino, where they're Nazi hunters. Based on a real story, 1977. Follows this kid whose grandmother's killed, and he comes into contact with these guys who are hunting Nazis who live in America under the disguise that they're Americans, and they're not. And it's really creepy. And the whole show is creepy and dark and scary, and it's based on reality, and that's terrifying. Because they tell some stories in between there that are even more terrifying about what they went through in prison, in the internment camps. So yeah, it's horrifying. That it's real, and it really happened. And I kept up thinking that, they're talking about this is 1977. I was 3. What was important to me at 3 years old? And what are these guys going through during this time? It's pretty incredible. But anyway, that's it. I'm going to wrap this up early. Bert Kreischer's, I mentioned this wrong in the last episode, and I apologize. Bert Kreischer has a new special coming out next Tuesday called Hey Big Boy, because that's what his wife calls him. She's like, hey big boy. He has a tour out called Birdie Boy. And anyway, St. Patty's Day is March 17th, and his special comes out March 17th. Check it out on Netflix. He's also doing a Call Into Work 6 show on the same day. If you live in Los Angeles and you want to go by the Comedy Store, you need to buy tickets now because they're selling out quickly. Basically, call in sick, go in there, drink, have a show, good time, day drinking. Pretty fun. He's already rumored that there's going to be a few comedian friends that are going to stop by and hang out too. So yeah, it's going to be fun. If I lived there, I'd be going. It'd be a great time. I mean, holy crap. Anyway, that's it. I did talk to Danny today about doing a project with him, so be on the lookout for that. I'm going to promote that as soon as it comes up, and I know more information. But yeah, go outside, enjoy the weather, wash your hands, stop touching your face, eat more vegetables, blah, blah, blah. Spread the love, baby, but don't spread the coronavirus. That's the tagline of this episode. You guys take care, and as always, remember, cue the cow.